last time, and we're going to finish up the arrays. And if there's time, we will jump onto the homework, which the homework's actually not that bad. It's like 4 lines of code. It's really not that bad today. Once you think about it, it's not that bad at all. So let's do that. The next one's not that bad either. Maybe. Let's see how much time let's start the first one, see where we're at in time. Go from there. Okay, so let's do more on arrays. And yeah, we'll dive into this today. This is from last class. So I don't think this download here has everything we did in class. So maybe the better place to start is if we go back to the modules or the homepage and click on the end of last class. So if we go to February 19th and I click on creating and using arrays and file from class, if I download that, that's going to give us where we ended up in class last week. I've already got it, so I won't download it. I'll just open it up. Okay, great. And let's say a prayer, and then we'll just dive in here. Any volunteers for a prayer? Carson. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Bless us.
For all that made blessings with you and come across together. Father, we ask you that thy spirit be dwell with us and fill thy spirit in receive thy life. Father, we see these things in the Son Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks very much. Okay, great. Okay, so where we were last time is we had this huge matrix of distances between hotels. What was it, 36 hotels? 36 hotels all across the Western United States. We had just been hired by this company, Starwood, which is the owner of all these hotels, to go to all these hotels. Check them out. Just do kind of a performance evaluation based on a customer, but as an employee, right? An all expense paid trip with your family in a van to all these hotels. And part of the goal would be to minimize your time on the road and to maximize your time in the hotel. So one way we decided to approach this problem was let's build an array, a couple of arrays, and here's kind of visual representation of these arrays. One array would be the hotels, one array would be the route that we take, and another array would be the distances from one hotel to all the other hotels. And I think that's kind of where we're at. So where did we leave off last time? We created some arrays. Who can remember something from last time? What can you tell me about arrays? Anybody? Anything? Chris? They usually start at 0. No, I'm glad you brought that up. That's good to remember. They usually do start at 0 for arrays. Why do they count from 0? Because if we would think of what an array is a collection of variables, right? And in memory, when you have a variable, you're referring to this index number, and 0 is like an offset. It's like start right here in memory. So that was the reason why they started coding arrays with 0, is from a index perspective in memory, 0 is right where that first variable is in the array. So that's probably one of the most confusing things about arrays, is that we're just not used to counting from 0. Everything starts from 0. The first item is actually the 0th item in all of these arrays. All 3 of these arrays, they all start with 0. Okay, great. And then also in the code, what is the difference here? If we look at an array that we create an array where there's nothing inside the parentheses, what does that mean? Do you remember that? If there's nothing inside the parentheses, what does that mean? versus the other time we started it, we were talking about hotels. We put 36 in there. We ended up putting 35 to account for that zero number. We needed 36 variables of hotel names, right? So if we have a number inside the parentheses, then we're talking about specifically a specific number. If we leave the number out and we just have parentheses there, that's actually a dynamic array. And we're telling it, we want you to set up an array, but I'm not ready to tell you how many variables are in that array yet. And so we can create an array without any numbers inside the parentheses. And that requires us, well, it doesn't require it, but practically, if we have to redim it, we actually have to recreate it or redimension it once we know what the numbers are. So that allows us to be dynamic. When the program runs, we can actually change the length of this collection of variables of this array. And then the last thing here is what's the difference? Why do we have these three dim statements above the sub statement here? What does that mean? What does that do? Anybody remember that? Yeah, very good. We can actually create these variables, these arrays, a collection of variables, to be accessible for all of the sub procedures in this module, in this entire module, which is kind of nice. We can actually share these arrays across the different modules. And that's what we're going to do today is we're going to dive into some other arrays where having access to these arrays, the same array, the same data in this array, having access to it across across sub procedures is going to be very helpful. And so this is how we do that. We actually create these arrays outside of any individual sub, and these become module level arrays. Okay, good. Okay, great. So let's run through this code and briefly look at where we're at so far. Just to remind us, it's been a few days, right? It's been 5 days. So here we have created three different arrays. This is just creating them. We have a hotels array, a route array, and a dist array. And in this sub, we're creating some variables here. We have an X and a Y, and then we're going to count how many hotels there are. So if we wanted to, we could come into, let's see, which property is it? Distance. We could come into this sheet, and if we wanted to add more hotels, we could just add more hotels at the bottom of this table. And when we count the hotels, it would use Excel end down to count how many hotels we have, right? Distance.range A2 end Excel down row -1. So we're going all the way down. So if I do A2 and I hit control down arrow, that's what that end Excel down does. Is it says, okay, control down arrow dot row. What's that row? That's row 37, and that will count -1 will count the number of hotels. If I run that in the immediate window, it says 36. We've got 36 hotels, which is what we have. So we've counted the number of hotels. Now that we know how many hotels, we can actually redim each one of these arrays. So we're redimming hotels, we're redimming route, and we're redimming dist. And what's crazy about dist is that dist is this two-dimension array. So these two arrays here, we have a hotel array and a route array. These are one-dimensional. We just have one column of information, one dimension. The distance array is a two-dimensional array. We have rows and columns. That's a two-dimensional. Is there such thing as a three-dimensional array? Yes, there is. Is there such thing as a four-dimensional array? Yes, you got it. Is there such thing as a 5-dimensional array? Oh, you guys are picking up on this. So good. Yes. Can we do a 6-dimensional array? Yes, we can. We can do a 6-dimensional array. I have never used a 6-dimensional array in my coding. No, I've never done 5. I think I've done a 3. I think I did a 3 once. There probably is a very specific case scenario when you need like a 6-dimension array. It's probably pretty specific. Yeah, I'm not sure what that would be. I'd have to think about that one. But the good thing for this class is that we're not going to be dealing with anything more than 2-dimensional arrays. Okay, great. So that's where we're at. We've redimmed our arrays, and now we're ready to, we did a for loop, and we're saying for each hotel, and notice we're doing for x equals 0, because we want to start at zeros when we're talking about these arrays, right? When we are creating data to put into the array, setting x to 0 allows us to say route 0 equals. And then we're saying hotel count -1. So you have a lot of hotel counts -1, hotel count -1, hotel count -1. We've counted the hotels. There's 36 hotels. The -1 accounts for the 0th hotel, right? That's kind of the translation from counting to putting that into an array number is we're going to subtract 1 out. Hotel count -1. So we're going to do a loop for x is equal to 0 to hotel count -1. For this one, we were going to say route 0 is equal to, actually, I think we were going to do 1 on this one. Oh, wait, no, I remember what we were doing. We were just setting all of the routes to -1. We didn't want it to have a 0 there because 0 is actually a hotel. We didn't want to have 1 there. That's a hotel. So we said, hey, let's do -1 just to clearly distinguish that we haven't set any of these up yet. It's just kind of initializing the array. We know how many we need to have, but we haven't actually put real data into this, right? For example, the first place we want to start our route is, let's just assume Salt Lake City, right? Which is 1 right here. So hotel 1. So we'll come back and in the 0th place in the route array, we're going to put 1 to actually start our route. But for now, what we're saying is let's just reset the entire array. We'll put them all to -1, I mean. So we've created the route array. Here we're creating the hotels array, and we're just filling the hotels array with the hotel name. That's all this is right here. We're taking the distance.cells notation, x plus 2, because on the distance sheet, the names of the hotels starts in the 2nd row. And if x is 0, we're saying x plus 2 to give us that 2nd row. Column 1 is right there, A2. So cells x plus 2 comma 1 is the same in this case as range A2. The benefit of using cells here instead of using range is that we can have this x be both a locator for cells as well as an index number for the array, which is pretty cool. We're doing 2 birds with 1 stone there. That's why the cells notation comes in very handy, especially when we're using arrays. So we're taking each name of the hotel and we're putting it into the hotels array here. And then for this for loop inside of the other for loop, we have a embedded for loop here. This is where we're going to fill out the dist array because it's got columns and rows. And we're going to grab all these numbers and we're going to put them into the distance array. And this is where with this line, I think I talked about this briefly. Notice how we just flipped it, right? Dist y comma x is filling all the blanks down here with all the numbers from up here, right? In other words, this is going to be 691, and this is going to be 374. This is 653. This is 385, 662, 12. This is pretty common in maps, right? Where you only have half the numbers here. And often this is blank, or in other cases, this is kilometers down here, and this is miles up here. So what we're doing is we're just copying the number from this side of the table over into the blank side using this line right here. So we've just set up dist x comma y here, and we're saying just flip that and put it right there. Okay, so let's do a little test here. I'm going to uncomment this line out and let's run this and let's see what we get. So if I've got to stop down here, so it should stop down here. I've uncommented these lines and let me go ahead and erase my immediate window, run this, and when I run it, it's going to show us the X that we have. So we start with 0 as our X. It's going to show us the hotels index X, so all the hotels names, as well as route X, which we set up here to be -1. So these are all going to be -1 up here. So we have all hotels. We've got 36 hotels. Starting at 0. Starting at 0 and 35 is Sheraton Santa Ana, Santana. How do you say that? Sanaa, Santa Ana, Santa Ana. That sounds better. And we've got them all. And so if I come up here and I do, okay, I could do a question mark and I could say, I could just check to see, given these 3 arrays, what is Hotel 33? Oh, hotels. I think it's hotels. Sheraton Seattle Hotel. Sheraton Seattle. That looks good. And we know what the routes are. Do we have dist yet? Let's do dist 35, comma 30, 34. 0. Wait a minute. How about 30, 34? 80, 802. So let's check, see if that's right. So 30, 34. So dist 30, right? That's going to be the 30th one. So that's going to be row 29. W in Silicon Valley. Bless you. And 34 is going to be 33. Wow, which column is 33? Good call. 36, 35, 34, 32. Is that right? And what is it? 802. Oh dear. Where's 802? Oh, down here. It's saying it's this one. Adding 4 or this one. 34 is going to be this one. 30 is going to be this one down here. 32. Oh, it's 2 rows off. That's right, because this top one here is row 2. So we mark 2 off for that. That's going to be 802. I think this is right. Now we should also check dist 3430 and see if we get the same number. 802. We got it. Okay, great. So that's kind of where we're at. What we've done is we've created the sub initialize. We have filled these with all this information. If you look at these arrays, that's kind of where we're at. We have hotel names, route is -1, and we have distance for all these miles. The next step is, what's the next step? The next step is, what's the closest hotel? So given that our hotel, whatever route we're on, right, which one is the closest? For example, route, well, let's start Salt Lake City. So Salt Lake City is hotel 1. If I come into route 0, put a 1 there, we could look at the distance and say, okay, which hotel is the closest to Salt Lake City? And I'm going to look at this entire row in the distance, and I'm going to say, what's the lowest one? Then we're going to have to figure out which hotel that is, and that's what our next hotel is. And that's how it's going to build this route for us, is say, okay, and I think it's, is it 7 is Vegas, the next one? I think it's Vegas. I think it's going to say 7. This 425 is the lowest on this entire row, 425. So then go to hotel 7 in the array, 0 to 7, right? 7. Now that we know what 7 is, now we're saying, okay, based on 7, what is the closest hotel there? And that's how it's going to build this route, is going to each hotel, which one is the next closest. Okay, so um, let's do this. So I'm going to come down here to sub. I'm going to build another sub. And let's do a sub calc route. We're going to calculate the route for this sub. First thing I want to do is I actually want to run the initialize sub. So I'll just call initialize. And that's like the first thing I do. So in order to calculate the route, I'm going to run this other sub, which is called initialize. And that's my first line for that sub. Yeah, let me move this up just a little bit so we can see it better. Let's do a integer. So we can do some loops here through our array. Dim x as integer. And let's go ahead and assume that we're going to put Salt Lake City into our first position in the route array. So we can just type this one out. We're just going to do it once. Route 0 is equal to 1. And I'm saying, here's route 0. I'm going to put 1 there. 1 because Salt Lake City is hotel 1 in the hotels array. Please. Oh yeah, we could do that too. Put it up here. Yes, I don't foresee any problem with that. It gets a little bit dangerous. The nice thing about setting it inside each one is that you don't cross over. It would be bad to start this loop on a value not equal to X, for example. So there is potential danger in that. I don't foresee it being a huge issue, but there's potential. If you have lots of for loops and you're transversing, or you're going from sub to sub, pretty easily and many times, I could potentially see where you don't want that to mess up a loop because it already has a value from another sub. But potentially it could work. Potentially, then you're just declaring it once, right? Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so we have our dim x as integer, we have our route. And kind of what I think we would do here logically is something like this, right? Route 1 is going to be next hotel. And then route 2 is going to be something like next hotel. What we can do is maybe we should create another sub procedure called next hotel. And we can run that to help us figure out what the next hotel is. So let's do that. Is that what I want to do next? Let's do that. I'll come down here. I'll create another sub. Let me scroll up a little bit. Sub next hotel. And so in this sub, we just created one called calculate route. Inside that sub, what we're going to do is we're basically going to write a loop that goes through all these routes. And it's going to call next hotel. So let's do one more sub called next hotel. And in this sub is where we'll actually do the next hotel calculations. So we have, in fact, let's do this as a function instead of a sub. We'll do it as a function procedure instead of a sub procedure. So I'm going to rename this as a function, and it's going to change my end sub to a function automatically. Function next hotel. And let's think about this. We want to pass it. We want to pass it some information. We want to pass it the number of the hotel that we're on right now. And then we want it to return what is the next hotel. So let's return this as long, because I believe the route, how do we set up route? Yeah, route is a long data type. So when we return the next hotel, we're going to say as long. And basically what we want is we want something that says next hotel is equal to a number. I mean, in this case, we could just say 7. That's kind of what we want it to return once we're done doing the calculation. We just want to know which hotel is the next hotel. That's kind of where we're going to go. Weird. Do you guys do remote desktop at all? Remote desktop gets me into my computer or downstairs, rather, my office. And that's usually how I try to connect, but it's not letting me connect, which is unfortunate. Well, let's do this one. Yeah. I can see it, but it won't. It's like frozen screen. It won't do anything. I can log out, log back in, but then it's just frozen. So let me go to my backup. Let me go here. And let me go here. Hmm, weird. I got a new computer on Friday, and so I think that's part of the problem. Wow, it's a lot easier. I could. It might take me longer. It'll save me some time if we just do it right here off my notes, which I got. I've got my backup working. Um, okay, but we need one more thing before we know what the next hotel is. We need to figure out what our current hotel is. So what we actually need to do is we need to build another function. So let's build another function, which is current hotel. And the current hotel is going to tell us which hotel are we on. So I'm going to come down here. I'll do function current hotel. I'll return a long as well. And I'm going to do another dim x as integer. And I'm going to do let me scroll up a little bit. A for loop for x is equal to the upper bound of route. I want to go through this entire route array and see which is our current hotel. How would I identify that? Our current hotel has a value greater than -1, right? It could be 0, because 0 is a valid hotel's number in our array, but it's going to be greater than -1. So I'm just going to build a loop to check, okay, going from the largest upper bound here, U bound is the upper bound of the route. So let's go backwards to 0. So I'm going to start at the top and go to 0. I'm going to do a step of -1, and I'll close off my for loop with the next. If route x is greater than -1, then do something. What am I going to do? I'm going to say current, then that's my current hotel. Current hotel is equal to route x. And I'll exit the function. So I'm going to go through the entire route array from top to bottom, step -1. If route x, if the value of that route x is greater than -1, then that is my current hotel. And I'll exit the function. And if I finish this for loop and there is no value greater than -1, then my current hotel is equal to -1. Okay, great. So now we have what our current hotel is. Now I can come back up here to the next hotel and we can create this one. So let's say, let me comment this out and let me create a variable, dim we are at. as long. So this is like finding out what our current hotel is. We are at equals current hotel. Now that we know what our current hotel is, now we need to create a loop that says, okay, go through all the hotels for that hotel. So if we're at hotel number 1 in Salt Lake City, we need to create a loop that says, if the distance is shorter, then go to that hotel. In essence, what is the shortest distance to the next hotel? That's what we're looking for. Now that we know what our current hotel is, tell me what is the shortest distance to the next hotel. So let's do another dim x as integer. We're going to go through some loops here. And let's create a short distance variable. What is the short distance? We'll do an integer because if the hotel is more than 32,000 miles apart, then it's like all the way around the earth, more than once. Circumference of the earth, anybody know that? 24,000? That's amazing. Yeah, how'd you know? I'm impressed. I'm impressed. ChatGPT. So this will give us the distance. We also need to dim what is going to be the next closest hotel. Once we know what the distance is, we still need to match that distance with the closest hotel. So that's the distance that we use to identify, okay, if that's the closest distance, then what is that hotel? Let's build a loop here for x is equal to 0 to upper bound hotels. We're going to go through all the hotels list. And let's just print. Shall we just print? Let's just print. That'll give us a good start. Make sure we got our code working. Debug.print x, comma, dist x, and then we are at. So we're going to say, what is the distance between the 0 hotel and the one that we're at? Question, Grace? Oh, yeah. It basically says, because we remember how we created hotels, which was not defined number when we initially created it, way at the top. We don't have an actual number. The upper bound says, what is that upper index number? It's like a specific number. What is that upper bound index number to hotels? In this case, it would be 35 because we have 36 hotels. Yeah. What's the highest index number of that array? Yeah, good question. Okay, so we've got something here we can print. We've got a next hotel. As long and let's see, upper bound of route. When I run this upper bound of route, do we set we haven't dimmed routes yet, so we probably have to run it from the calc route sub. So let's run this from the calc route sub, and let's just do this one right here. I'll comment this one out. And the reason why we have to run this from the calc route sub is because it calls the initialize, right? It's going to help us create these arrays that are needed to run these functions down here. Next hotel, current hotel. Current hotel requires the route, and in order to get the route array set up, we have to run from the sub calc route. So I'll come up here, I'll run this. This is going to stop in our initialize because I have a stop here. I'll go ahead and comment that out and keep going. And what we were looking for is printing x comma the distance. And so what we should have seen here in our immediate window is all of the other hotels. So one is our current hotel. And we should see these numbers come straight from the distance sheet. So from Salt Lake, which is Hotel 1, the distance between Salt Lake and the Los Angeles hotel is 691. We go back to the array. Los Angeles is Hotel 0, and there's 691. So that looks good. The distance between Salt Lake and hotel number 2, we're looking like at this row right here. Here's our row for, or it could go this way, right? Both these numbers are going to be the same. 691 is 653. So from Salt Lake to Hotel 2, which is Phoenix, downtown Phoenix Hotel, 653. So that's where our 653 is coming into play. Okay, so basically what we've done here is we've created a couple of functions and a sub, and we've been able to say what our current hotel is and find out what is the distance from the current hotel where we're at to all the other hotels on the list. Okay. Let's do a neighbor check. Neighbor, here's where I'm at. Neighbor, I'm completely lost. Neighbor, I am in need of serious help. Neighbor, it's time for the chat to do the midterm. Let's see. Okay, how we doing? Everybody's up there? We got it? Jaden? Hunter?
Watch your recordings.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that.
Stash too.
You like this? This is my midwinter crisis.
Keep letting it grow out, so it's a full winter.
Yes, it warms my face and my heart at the same time.
Change your board is head. Just go, don't go to the.
What's that? Don't go to the
No,
ETC
they'll make you shave in class.
in class. What's forward? Spring forward? Oh, time change. Is that this week?
That's like next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I should keep it at least until then. How we good? Sure.
I'm doing the compiler. I don't know what that means.
And that's when you're running calc route? Here's about 10. Oh, I think I got an extra R there. Integer. Yeah, hit play, see if that works. Okay, now see, you got some zeros there.
I shouldn't have to.
Right. Let's see. What's your go back to your initialize. So your initialize is what fills those numbers into the dist. Okay, you have one line here. Let me scroll back up. After that dist xy, there's one more line here. Hotel 1 is Salt Lake City. So we're basically assuming that we're starting at Hotel 1 because Hotel 1 is Salt Lake. Hotel 0 is Los Angeles. So we're just kind of assuming, let's start at Salt Lake and then see how we can get all of them done. Yeah. Yeah, we could do this differently. We could say choose a different one like Vegas. Okay, good. No, the X plus 2 there is referring to the distance sheet. The distance is the sheet. And then on the distance sheet, row 2 is where the names start. So that row, distance.cells x plus 2, is just taking all of the values in that distance sheet and putting it into the hotels array. It's not into the route, right? We're not defining what the route is there. We're just saying, give me all those hotel names, put it into the hotels array.
We're gonna come down to zero at some point, but it's just.
Right. At some point, we got to go through 0. That's right. So 0 is going to be on the route somewhere. It's just not the first hotel that we do. Yeah. How we doing back here? Carson? Nice. Hunter? Nice. William? What does it say? Did you get an error? User defined type, not defined. And we are at as long. Did you run it from the sub calc, the calc route?
On this one?
Yeah, run that one. You might have to stop it first.
But then I don't get any numbers and stuff.
Okay, run more. Yeah, comment that out and then run it. Keep running. But you got to run. Sorry, you got to run this one down there. Try it again. Calc route. Run that. Oh, it still says user defined type, not user defined type. Damn, we are at as long. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Function X hotel. We are equals current hotel. Current hotel. Next hotel. Function. User defined type. Yeah, we are at as long. That's a weird one. You got end function. And this is calling that from there. Or x equals 10.
What we are doing, so we are just defining it as long as he's.
Yep. I bet that. Oh, it's your. I think your G on long is a different letter. Is that true? That's a hard one. That's a hard one to find right there. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, nailed it. That's a hard one to find. Okay, good. I think we got most of those worked through. So what we've done now is we've been able to identify which hotel we're at, and we've gone and said, okay, debug print all of the distances from our current hotel to all the other hotels. So now instead of doing this one, we are going to figure out which one's the shortest. So let me comment this out. And let's start with the short distance. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say short distance is equal to, we've already created the variable. Let's say the shortest distance is 32,767. What does that represent? Anybody remember? Nice. You guys are ready for this midterm. I can tell. Well, at least Chris is. That specific number, no, but the range, like 32,000 something. Like if you know that integer plus or minus 32,000, that's good enough. That's good enough. Long, integer, all those data types. Okay, great. So if we say the short distance is 32,767, there's not going to be one that's longer than that. That allows us just a lot of space, a lot of wiggle room. And then we can say, okay, given the comparison, let's start comparing, right? So inside of this for loop, if dist x comma we are at, we're comparing this distance is less than the short distance, then do something. What are we going to do? We're going to say the short distance is equal to dist x comma we are at. End if. Don't forget the end if. So we're just comparing. We're saying, okay, if the short distance is less than the distance we're looking at here in this loop, because we're going to go through this entire loop, right? If it's less, then change the short distance. We know what the short distance is. So let's run this. Let's see. Let me do another debug print after this and see what we come up with. And then let me do a stop as well. Do I have a stop in here? Let me do a stop so we can still hang on to this. Let me scroll up a little bit so you can see it. And then let me do a, let's do a debug print. And what we're going to check is the shortest distance is, and then do short distance. So let's see. What is the shortest distance? And I believe right now, because we're on 1, the shortest distance is going to be 7. So let's see if that works. So I'll come back up to calc route. I'll run calc route. And the shortest distance is 0. Oh, interesting. It gave us 7,425 for this short distance. Let's see, where was that? That printed up above, and it says the shortest distance is 0. You know, that's interesting. There's one more thing we need to add here. We need to keep track of whether or not we've been to the hotel already. So the reason why the shortest distance is 0 is because it's comparing Salt Lake City with itself. And it's saying, yeah, that is the shortest distance. It's going to be 0, right? So we need to add something that says, if we've already been to that hotel, that's when we change the short distance. If we have been to the hotel, we're not going to change the short distance. So let's add that here. Let's add, let's see, is this another function? Or is it just a variable? Where'd it go? Yeah, let's add another function called been there. Let's come down here, and I'm going to copy the same code from current hotel. So I'm going to go down to my current hotel function. I'm going to copy this, and we're going to use this very same code with some adjustments to do a been there function. So I'll just copy and paste it. It'll reset my running. Sure, we'll stop it, my running. So I should have 2 current hotel functions at the very bottom, is what I'm saying. I'm going to come to the second one. I'm going to rename it been there. And this is going to help us keep track of, have we been to this hotel or not? What I'm going to send it is, I'm going to send it an hotel index. Let's see. Hotel, boy, that looks weird with the L and the capital I. Hotel index. I'm going to send it a hotel number, and I want it to return Boolean, true or false, right? Which is, have we been to this hotel? Yes or no? That's just a comment to help me with the logic here. So function been there is the name. Hotel index is the information I'm going to pass to it. I'm going to give it that information. And I want it to return to me yes or no, true or false. Yes, we've been there. No, we haven't been there. So I'll do dim x as integer. I'll do a for loop for x is equal to upper bound route to 0, step 1, step -1. If route x is, and I'm going to change this to be equal to hotel index, then been there equals true. So if this index that we're sending it is on the route list, then been there is equal to true. Or if not, been there is equal to false. And so I'll change that down below. So this used to be current hotel. I changed this to been there, which is the name of this function. And if it's not on the list, it's going to go through the entire route list, that entire route array. It's going to check to see if we've been to that hotel. If we have been there, it'll say true and exit the function. If we haven't, if we go through that whole list and it's not on the list, it's going to say, nope, we have not been there. Okay, so now I'm going to copy the name of this function, been there. I guess I could type it. It's pretty easy to remember. And I'm going to come back up to this statement, which is where we're making the comparison about the distance. And what I want to do here is I want to say and I'm going to say, if it's true that we have not been there. So I'm going to say, and been there, x equals false. Then do this. So all I did is I just added this statement right there to that if-then statement. I'm adding an and part to the short distance, right? If the distance is less than the short distance, change the distance, but only do that if we haven't been there. So if it shows up on the list, then don't change the distance. Only change the short distance if we haven't been there. Okay? And this is a good one for your neighbor to look at. Neighbor, check this if statement. Neighbor, will you double check my if statement for me? Just make sure it works. Will, you're so accommodating. You didn't even walk over, Will.
He has good eyes.
Yeah. How many fingers? Okay. Carter, you good? Okay, here, I'll help you out. Who's your neighbor? Jaden? Jaden, are you his neighbor, buddy? Am I my brother's neighbor?
I'm just trying to, I'm gonna look at your video later on to see it.
Where are you at? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. You can change me from
You can change.
tools options.
I don't know why it bothers me, but it does.
You want it to be the same? Do editor format, I think. Yeah, you can change it. I can't remember what mine is. Courier. Is mine Courier? Something like that. Yours is Courier new? I think mine's sans serif. Microsoft sans serif, something like that. Yeah, choose the one that's yeah, is it English or Western, something like that? Okay, so now if we have this here and we go back and run this code again, we should see the shortest distance is now 425. Let me make this a little bit clearer. I'll stop this. Again, I'm going to go back to calc route. I'm going to run this code. It's going to run all of this. In fact, let's go ahead and not, let me take out all my other debug prints that I don't really need at this point. And let me just show the shortest distance. So there's one debug.print. Here's the other one up here. I'll just comment these out. This is the initialize debug.print. So let me run it one more time. Come down here to sub or calc route, run this guy. And it says the shortest distance is 425. Okay, great. So where we're at is when we run this sub, the calc route, we've initialized, we created the 3 arrays, and we ran this route 1 equals next hotel. Next hotel calls current hotel. It figures out what our shortest distance is, and it comes back and prints out what that shortest distance is. So I think we're good. So I will stop this function, and we're ready to go to the next level here. Now that we know what the distance is, we need to figure out what the next closest hotel is. And we already have a variable here for next closest hotel. So let's add this down here to this loop. Inside of the loop, when we figure out what the shortest distance is, we can also find out next closest hotel. And that gives us the actual hotel name, right? That gives us the X. That gives us the index value of the hotel. And that's what we're really looking for in this function, which is next hotel. So we can say at the bottom here, we can say next hotel, which is the name of this function, is equal to next closest hotel. And that's it for this function. So now this function is going to tell us what is the next closest hotel from whatever our current hotel is. And that's what we needed to know. So if we go back up, let me shrink this. Let me scroll back up. Right, we're closing off some of these functions. We've done the been there function, the current hotel function, and we've closed out the next hotel function, right? Next hotel is going to give us the next closest hotel, which is from this loop. We can now create a loop in this function, in our calc route function, that goes through all of the routes. Right now, we just did route 1. So instead of just doing one route at a time, let's come down here and create a loop. We have x as an integer, so we'll do for x is equal to 1 to u-bound hotels. Why 1? Because we already know what route 0 is. We already did that one up here. So we'll just start x at 1, and we'll go to the rest of the hotels, the end of that hotel list. I'll do a next here for my for loop. And let's do route x is equal to, we're going to call the function next hotel. How about that? As simple as that. So this is going to give us a loop. It's going to go through this loop of hotels arrays, and it's going to say for each number in this array, notice how we're crossing arrays here, right? We're using the hotels as the counter array, and then we're using the value of x as the index number for the route array. And we're saying route x, give me the next hotel. So route 1, we know that's going to be 7 because we just calculated that. Route 2, which is the third element in this array, we don't know what that is yet. We haven't done that one. It's going to calculate that whole thing. It's going to go through that calculation for every single hotel and actually create a route. Are you ready? I think this is it. Is this like the last thing? Yeah, let's print it. That's a good idea. I like that. I'm okay with that. Just so we can see. Let's do another loop. And on this time, I'll start x to 0 just to give us the entire loop. We'll do upper bound hotels. And we'll do a debug.print. Let's print, let's do x plus 1. That'll just give us the step count, right? First hotel, second hotel, third hotel, fourth hotel. Just kind of an easier way to read it. So we'll do x plus 1. And let's do a kind of a dot, kind of a list format, like 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot. We'll concatenate that with hotels route x. How about that? And that's just going to give us a list up here in our window. That'll give us a list of what our route actually is. Are you ready? Let me scroll this up. Let me scroll this down so we can see a little bit of it. Here's our 2 loops. Let's run this. I'll run this. And there it is. This is our list. So let's compare lists. Let's see if we have the same list. I added a space right here, by the way, after my period, just to give me a little bit more space on the list. Okay, so for me, Oh, the shortest distance. Okay, I'm gonna comment that out too. We don't need that. Comment out my debug.print on the shortest distance inside of, which function is this? The next hotel function. I just commented that out. And just to clean this up a little bit, let's run this again. So I'll come down to calc route. I'll run calc route again, and I should get a list. Raise your hand if you have the Westin Long Beach as step 7. Jaden? Didn't work? I got Westin, the Westin in Long Beach as my hotel number 7. Grace got it? Okay, nice. Very good. We got 5 or 6 of us that are there. I think some others are right on the border. Okay, let's keep going down here. So if we look at this list, let's just look at it too from a geographic perspective. We're starting in Salt Lake. It goes to Vegas. I mean, that makes sense. It goes to Fairplex, Anaheim, Cerritos, Long Beach, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, downtown, Monarch Beach. I'm not sure where that's at. Where's that one at? Monarch is in Dana Point. Anybody know where Dana Point is? Really? We don't have anybody. We don't have anybody from California here? But it sounds like we're starting in Salt Lake. We go to Vegas. We come down here to Los Angeles. And what's next after that? La Jolla. La Jolla. Where's La Jolla? Okay, I thought somebody would pick up on that. La Jolla is San Diego. So then we hit some San Diego stuff. Then we go up to Palm Springs. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, I don't know if this is the best route. So basically, we come down here, we go to California, we do Los Angeles, we go down to San Diego, and then where's Palm Springs? It's like over here. Oh, more right. Oh yeah, it's over here, right there. That's kind of interesting, right? I don't know. So we're coming down to Los Angeles, we go down here, then we come up to Palm Springs. I mean, maybe it's not terrible yet. It's not terrible. Right. 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 That's not too bad. Bakersfield. Okay, so now we're starting to go back up, right? So Bakersfield is where? Up here? Is that south of Fresno? Yeah, it's up here. So we're coming down here. We go down to San Diego, Palm Springs, come up to Bakersfield. San Jose, Silicon Valley, San Francisco, St. Francis. So now we're up here. So we've gone all the way up here to San Jose, Silicon Valley. Okay, that sounds pretty reasonable still. Montreal Hotel. I don't think that's in Montreal. I'm pretty sure that's in, is it San Francisco? Yeah, it's in San Francisco. It's called the Montreal Hotel in San Francisco. So we have a whole bunch of San Francisco. Then it goes up to Sacramento. Okay, then it goes to Seattle. And this is where I think it gets really weird. 33 is Scottsdale. So 29 is Seattle. I think this is near Seattle. I think all this is Seattle. And then 33 is Scottsdale. Where's Scottsdale? Arizona. And then Phoenix. Kind of weird, right? I mean, if you look at the map, it's like it missed all this. So it came down here, Los Angeles, San Diego, Palm Springs, Bakersfield, up here, up to Seattle, way up here, and then all the way back down to Phoenix. I mean, that's probably, isn't that interesting? It's interesting how that worked because when we were in Bakersfield, it was closer to go to San Jose than it was to go to Phoenix, right? So it's an interesting algorithm that we used to do that. Right. If we were another way to do is go to Vegas, go then through Phoenix, and then come up the West Coast, right? That might be something that we could see pretty easily. as probably better than going all the way to Seattle and then all the way back down to Phoenix, probably better. But not terrible, right? Not terrible. So we did it. So that is what we were trying to do. We're trying to build, and the real purpose here was using arrays, right? We built 3 arrays. We figured out what the route would be given this particular algorithm, which is what is the next nearest hotel. And we did it. And we finished our trip, 36 hotels. Okay, very good. That's what I wanted to get through for today. At this point, what do we have, about 15 minutes left? Happy to stay work on the project if you want to do that, or just help individually. So I think I'll just go ahead. Should I keep recording or should I end the recording? We could print those out. We don't have to, right? No. We could print those out, but those are in the array, right? I mean, if we wanted to, we can come down here and put a stop into the subcalc route, and then we could actually run this again, and we could go up here and we could say, what is route? You know, what's the 33rd option? That's going to be hotel 4. So they're all there. We didn't actually print it out to the sheet or anything, but it's all there. I think it cut it off when I ran this again. There was just multiple hotels. Okay, good. I'll go ahead and stop the video, and then anybody who wants to stick around, we'll knock out the project. I mean the homework, not the project, the homework that's due today. And unless you guys have specific questions. Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Good job. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.